Good afternoon, London. Wasn't that a great presentation by Michael? It's always a challenge to go after Michael since he's a fountain of knowledge. It's a pleasure to be here in the O2. When I think about the range of talent that has been on the stage, other than Michael, of course, we have great musical performers, we've got great comedy troupes, we've got great theatrical performers, and I wanted to try to incorporate some of them in my presentation today, but they were busy at a different blockchain conference across town. So I challenged myself to think about how we could incorporate some of these performers in the presentation today. So the title of my presentation is Sharpening Our DasCoin IQ. Who knows Daft Punk? Who knows Rush? So these musical acts have songs about the word digital. So the complexion of money and value has been shifting gradually over the past 70 years, starting with credit cards, and then we moved to debit cards, and now prepaid cards, where value can be reloaded on a piece of plastic. Within the past 10 years, crypto assets have emerged, where value can be created through a blockchain protocol. On the left here, we're looking at the first instance of Bitcoin being mined. And on the right, we are looking at the first block where DasCoin was minted. As we heard, that took place in March of last year. The word seigniorage that you're seeing on the screen is a very fancy economics word. What that word means is if I am a central bank or I'm a government or I want to make money, the difference between the value of the money and the cost of production is called seigniorage. When we think about seigniorage in terms of crypto assets and digital assets, Bitcoin, if you think of all the electricity charges, etc., you have positive or negative seigniorage. In contrast, everyone living in those countries and everyone living in other countries has the opportunity to purchase the digital asset called DasCoin. And given where the price is currently trading, receive positive seigniorage. That's a major difference between DasCoin and other cryptocurrencies that are out there right now. Fleetwood Mac and Jadakiss have performed on this stage, and they've talked about the block, they've talked about the chain. That graphic on the left is a doozy. We had between 600 trillion and 1.2 quadrillion dollars of over-the-counter derivatives back when the global financial crisis was starting. Those are very lofty numbers. That's the notional value, the face value of those instruments. So governments, central banks, and even financial institutions can create assets limitlessly. There's no stopping what they can do. The market value of all those derivatives from about 10 years ago was about $21 trillion. And if you compare that to the global money supply, which is about $90.4 trillion, you can see that we have far many more assets in the world than we do money, than we do actual money supply. So those assets actually compete for our money. If we think about banks, banks are nothing more than middlemen between us and our money. So banks are what we call financial intermediaries, intermediation. That's a very important word. That became a very dirty word during the global financial crisis. So on one hand, banks are custodians of our cash, and on the other hand, they created a lot of these instruments called derivatives which blew up in the entire world's face. And companies that are doing incredible things. So a lot of great work is being done using the DasNet blockchain, and we're going to be hearing a lot about that. Who's familiar with Monty Python? So Monty Python had a famous skit called The Dirty Fork, and Neil Young has a song called Fork in the Road. When there's a blockchain and a new instance of a blockchain is being created from an existing blockchain, we call that a fork. So that's a divergence in an existing technology platform. Forks happen when blockchains need to on the technology that we're looking at here. BitShares, graphene, et cetera. Open, decentralized solutions that are used by others as well. A lot of great use cases are being executed all over the world utilizing this technology. We're looking at some of them right here. One of the questions that I'm often asked is, where do you think the value of DasCoin will go? It's a natural question. The best answer I have is this. If you think about some of the other technology platforms out there in the cryptocurrency industry that are using similar technology, we can see that significant valuations are being generated. And we can see that there is a lot of 24-hour trading volume, meaning a lot of liquidity that is associated with these similar platforms. On the case with EOS on the right, the team that developed it is also the team that developed the existing technology upon which DasCoin is now built. So we are an esteemed company. And if these other giants have succeeded, my answer to that question, that rhetorical question is, why can't we do the same thing? Cycles, options. My brother from another mother right there. Cycles are closed-loop crypto assets. You buy a NetLeaders license, you receive cycles. You can choose to retain those cycles, or you can submit them back to the network, the minting queue, in exchange for DasCoin. As we're going to be learning more about today and in the coming weeks, cycles are going to be taking an ever-increasing important role in this ecosystem. We're looking at a picture here of Mohammed El Ariad. He was one of the gentlemen who used to run PIMCO, which was a $1 trillion plus bond fund in Newport Beach, California. One of his favorite concepts in investing is optionality. And when we think about all of the amazing things that cycles are going to allow us to do in short order, we can begin to understand that we will have options. We will have options to stay in cycles and utilize them for various products and services, or we'll have the ability to exchange them for DasCoin. Linkin Park had an album called Hybrid Theory. There's this great ideological debate in the blockchain space versus centralized or decentralized. Which is better? And it's a very critical debate that's going on. As we know from the DasCoin white paper, there are centralized and decentralized elements in our ecosystem. Our value proposition combines both decentralized and centralized aspects. So rather than be too pedantic or academic about which is better, it's good to have feet in both camps. And that's in contrast to a lot of other cryptocurrency concepts in the market. Who is familiar with Julie Andrews? She has been on the stage singing Getting to Know You. Authenticated. Banks and financial institutions spend more than $270 billion US every year on compliance. We all inhabit a post-911 world where banks are having to make sure that the customers that they deal with are not sanctioned. They have to mitigate risks such as money laundering, terrorist financing, etc. DasCoin has an authenticated network. And one of the reasons why we have an authenticated network is because we aspire to do many wonderful things in the future. We're building this huge network, so let's contemplate the future value-added services and partners that we can team up with. So those services include things such as challenger banks, mobile payments, digital payments, card associations, etc. That underscores the importance of maintaining an authenticated network. Seal and Earth, Wind, and Fire sing about systems. They have been on the stage. One of the words that is used quite frequently in the blockchain industry is the word ecosystem. Ecosystem refers to the members of a network and their various interactions. The blockchain industry today is kind of like the PC market back around 1985, 1986. People such as myself had computers back at home then, but unless you had a modem, you really were not communicating with other computers at that point in time. So all these various blockchains in the world are not yet really interoperating the way that they will in the future. Another performer who has been in this building is Roger Federer, the Swiss tennis giant. And his name reminds me of the word federate, which means to unite or align or ally. We are looking at two famous federations here. On the left, we have Confederation Helvetica. That is the official name of Switzerland. So a bunch of cantons like Geneva, Zurich came together. They formed this confederation. On the right, we're looking at the World Wrestling Federation. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, the Iron Sheik. Who remembers the camel clutch? Kamala, the Ugandan giant. So Vince McMahon federated these wrestling leagues and created the World Wrestling Federation. So what will be happening with blockchains is they will be supporting what we call the Federation of Data. We talked a little while ago about the event that we held in Paris at the Eiffel Tower, where Michael announced that a new DAS chain would be forthcoming later this year and geared towards the fashion industry. It was a great event. Let's think about something from the fashion industry. Let's think about Air Jordans. Nike earns an estimated $2.4 billion on Air Jordans every year. MJ, number 23 himself, earns about $110 million with every contract. In a counterfeit sneaker bust in Santiago, Chile, about 2 years ago, the estimated street value of these Air Jordans, these counterfeit Air Jordans, was about $32 million. If a solution such as supply chain management can be put on the blockchain, those data can be federated and these risks can be mitigated. One other point I'd like to mention is as these DAS chains become active in the market and start to federate data, we will be moving from an ecosystem to an ecosphere. When you have multiple ecosystems that are interacting, that is actually an ecosphere. And finally here, noise. Rod Stewart, Michael McDonald, two very distinctive voices. As a Wall Street person, I spent a lot of time in my career managing risk, managing market risk. The successful management of market risk is the most important element of trading and investing. There's a lot of randomness in the markets. There's a lot of noise, technical noise, fundamental noise, headline risk, news risk, etc. We are looking at the most important price that there has ever been in the cryptocurrency industry right here. When Bitcoin reached $152.40 US back in early 2015, that actually became the most important price ever. But we did not know it at the time. It took 2 or 3 years for that price, the importance of that price, to be confirmed technically. A lot of people who are in the cryptocurrency industry get very excited about minute changes in price, a few satoshis changing here and there. I would like to propose and suggest today that as DasCoin becomes traded in the public markets, that we not focus on those tick-by-tick price changes. Let's not focus on the minutia of a few changes here and there. Let's think about how we can collectively contribute to the long-term success of DasCoin. Let's think about the value add that each and every one of us can provide. If we can do that, then as Ice Cube probably sang on the stage one day, today will be a good day. Thank you very much.
That was Blair Baker, everyone. Thank you, Blair.